Leader of the United Workers' Party, Ron Green, says his party is not fearful of a by-election. Mr. Green says his party will boycott Parliament this week despite fears that it could pave the way for a by-election in Dominica.
Well, the issue isn't by-election. The issue is the question of the election of the 18th of December and the gross irregularities that took place. And are they going to be addressed? That is the issue. And to the extent that Prime Minister Skerritt has taken articulated his policy that he's going to move as quickly as possible to have parliaments in order to throw us out, it seems that is what he wishes to do, to get 21 seats, to have a one-party state, and to have by-elections. Our issue is the question of what happened on the 18th. How do we, as a democracy in the Caribbean, in the year 2010, correct so that never again we can be accused of having unfair and unfree elections? It is a democracy that we live in. We can correct. We have the capacity and all that is required to correct the very gross and serious errors that took place on the 18th of December. Let us do that. Well, we will determine that when the time comes. We cannot determine those things in advance. We will determine the steps that are required. We are boycotting the Parliament because we believe it is necessary at this point in time to take the actions to strengthen our democracy. We can do it. It is not nuclear science. It is not anything that is so complex. We can take the steps to get ID cards, to provide access to state-owned media, to do the cleansing of the list. We can take these steps. Let us move in the direction of doing that so that our country goes forward. That is the fundamental point, and let us focus on that.
Leader of the United Workers' Party, Ron Green. Mr. Green says there are a number of irregularities in the December 18 general election which need to be addressed. The government of Dominica has secured assistance from the United Nations Development Program and the Global Environment Facility to undertake the capacity building and mainstreaming of sustainable land management project in Dominica. And to this end, the report is expected to be presented at the National Consultative Workshop on Integrated Environmental and Resource Management Legislation under the Sustainable Land Management Project for Dominica commencing today. The government of Dominica, through the Environmental Coordinating Unit, is seeking input from key stakeholders to guide the development of long overdue and much needed environmental legislation for Dominica. The approach will guarantee the input of the public in the process of drafting and enacting new legislation in Dominica. Discussions on key findings of issues of paper will be facilitated by Judge Ramili, international environmental lawyer. Also in attendance will be the Minister of Environment, Attorney General, Permanent Secretaries, and key stakeholders. When Parliament meets on Thursday, government will introduce a bill for an act to regulate money services businesses on the island. Attorney General Francine Baron-Royer says government will also seek to amend the Income Tax Act.
In keeping with the decision that had been taken by the government in terms of reducing the threshold, the income tax threshold, there will also be supplementary appropriation bill, the money services bill, which is one of the financial legislation that we are required to pass in keeping with our commitment to the Monetary Council, and it's one of the harmonized pieces of legislation that the Monetary Council has mandated should be passed in all the island. The money services bill is to regulate money services business. So places like businesses such as Cambio Man and Fast Cash and those businesses will operate under a regulated structure. They will be required to apply for a license under that legislation, and they will be regulated pursuant to that legislation.
Attorney General Francine Baron-Royer. Chairman of VNC Inc., Dr. Valda Henry, has called on women in Dominica and the Caribbean to find ways to finance the activities that they want. Dr. Henry was delivering the feature address at the 20th Biennial Conference of the Caribbean Women's Association under the theme, Caribbean Women Taking on the Global Economic Challenges for Families and Community.
And I say to you right now, there are so many calls for proposals going together. There is money awash for activities. The women of the Caribbean must come together, put their heads and their pens together, and write for these proposals. I say to you right now, the EU has a call that's open for €4 million. Listen, the last time I counted, the euro was 3.7. If I do that math 4 times 3.7, and math was never my strongest topic, it is somewhere like almost 15 million EC dollars available for the taking. Caribbean Export has a call for proposal that expires on May 28th. Again, with funds between 1 to 5,000 euros. In fact, they just had a call, no, 5,000, sorry, to 30,000 euros. They just had a call that ended last week, Friday, where the minimum you could have applied for was 30,000 euros. And so the women of the Caribbean have to get on to research. I say in the Caribbean, we talk too much, we don't work enough, we don't put things together. So we must stop talking and we must start acting.
Dr. Valda Henry speaking at the State House on Sunday. Kairiwa will be 40 years on the 27th of April, referred to as Kairiwa Day. The Caribbean Women's Association is an umbrella organization representing the national councils of women of Antigua, Barbuda, Anguilla, Barbados, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, Montserrat, St. Kitts Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Trinidad and Tobago. Dominica is hosting the conference this year. As Dominica observes the 8th anniversary of the Pan American Health Organization's Health Week this week, Health Minister Julius Timothy says this year's theme, Reach Everyone, reflects the importance that the Ministry of Health has placed over the past 28 years on the prevention of diseases for all Dominicans, particularly the island's children. Mr. Timothy says efforts will focus on reaching everyone, particularly the immigrant population and Dominicans who have not been immunized against tetanus.
That the Ministry of Health is encouraging all persons who have not received the tetanus vaccine to report to their health centers and get immunized. An appeal is particularly being made to the Haitian community in our midst to visit the health centers nearest to them to be immunized. Government continues to provide the vaccines free of cost to its citizens. Vaccines are expensive, and so we must embrace the opportunity and get immunized.
Dominica is also observing Oral Health Week to help raise the public awareness of the importance of oral health and how oral diseases can be prevented. The theme, Oral Health, Your Choice, Your Responsibility, promotes healthy lifestyles and emphasizes that good dental health can enhance the quality of life. Health Minister Timothy says during this week, a number of activities will be organized to provide the public with the opportunity to learn more about treatment options available at various health centers.
This includes outreach programs in vulnerable communities where the main objective will be to promote self-awareness among residents. The importance of proper oral hygiene as a means of decay prevention, healthy gums, and pleasant breath cannot be overemphasized. The objective of the World Health Organization Pan American Health Organization on Global Oral Health Program has been reoriented to the new strategy of disease prevention and promotion of health, where greater emphasis is put on developing global policies in oral health promotion and disease prevention. Hence, the dental unit of the Ministry of Health, in collaboration with PAHO, is in the process of finalizing the document for the oral health policy, which will be submitted to Cabinet shortly.
Coordinator of the Christian Council for One World in the Fair Trade, the United Kingdom, Miranda St. John Nicole, says Dominica and the wider Caribbean should look into diversification. St. John is currently in Dominica engaging with officials of Fair Trade.
Well, I think broadly speaking, diversification is always a good thing. I mean, it's never a good idea to have all your eggs in one basket. And as you're probably aware, fair trade, for example, covers all different kinds of products, many of which are products that are already being grown in Dominica. So it covers things like spices and coconuts and mangoes and a whole range, vanilla, cocoa, a whole range of products. So again, I think there are some huge opportunities to be had there. I think that the reality is that the global picture is a really complicated one. And obviously changes in preferences and, different factors like Hurricane Dean, for example, all of these things can have an impact. But that doesn't mean that there isn't still the opportunity.